one of the first multimedia cartoon icons. Before Superman, there was Little Nemo, an influential powerhouse in the beginning of the 20th century, one which was instrumental in the development of animation. 1911's Little Nemo is a technical marvel that far exceeds the author's more popular Gertie the Dinosaur. Drawn to life on 4,000 pages of rice paper, it's the first speed draw, it's groundbreaking stuff. Although we're not here to talk about that Little Nemo today, but one that never was. Just follow me with this, just humor me. Yutaka Fujioka was an established anime producer in Japan who had a dream to have a hit film in America. To do this, he obtained the rights for an animated version of Little Nemo. Although, that wasn't enough for Fujioka. He wanted it to be a joint American-Japanese production. Around this time, Fujioka was working with an up-and-coming anime director on his first feature, Hayao Miyazaki. You might have heard of him, who he did later approach about the project. However, don't tell Hayao this, but he wasn't his first choice. Fujioka approached George Lucas, Chuck Jones, among others, who would all either reject the proposal or lead the project later on, like Miyazaki or Takahata, who were involved in Nemo's pre-production, but left just as fast, over creative differences. Yet Yoshifumi Kondo and his group, who would later become Ghibli staples, stayed on, at least long enough to finish the pilot.
Now or you'll be sorry! Jump!
It was an epic, a flying sequence in a dream world, animated over 6 months. The spectacular talents of Kondo as a director were on full display. The style is reminiscent of the original comic, capturing the essence of its Art Nouveau origins, as well as the draftsman-like quality, while paying homage to certain adventures from the original comic. It masters the craftsmanship of the sequence in such a way that words fail me, so I'll just show it instead. The potential is there for something great. Some shots were even lifted for later Ghibli projects. It was the first triumph of the production, maybe the last as well. Kondo dropped the project in '85, when Nemo would fall into a production hell for the next 4 years. Another pilot arrived in '87, with many of its segments landing in the final film, albeit in an altered state. While not as impressive as the prior short, it does have some highlights in set design while bringing a darker tone overall. This time the director was Osamu Dezaki, who had worked on many influential anime from the classic age. The aesthetic now is closer to Mobius than the previous short, who was credited for the conceptual designs on the film. For example, the flying fish splashing into the flat linework of the Lost Sea screams of his distinctive art style. As you can expect, Dezaki did not stay on the production for long, leading to one final change of director. Masami Hata, an accomplished director in his own right, making several animated family films with dour tones. Oh, and a Japanese exclusive Mario movie. It's not very good, don't go watch it, it's not very good. However, Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland was not one of his final works. The '84 pilot flattens anything the actual movie offers, but it is much harder to be consistent for a full feature. Even so, Adventures didn't garner the best reaction upon its release, critically nor financially. It was no hit in America, let's just say that. Although it's not a terrible film, it's watchable. I fell asleep in the second act. Still, I've seen worse attempts of Disney-fying a film. The animation, while not to the standard of the pilots, is as polished as I'd expect from the talent and the budget, but the backgrounds still have a great mysterious quality to them, which can be on par with the pilots. The biggest problems come from the script, as well as its lack of uniqueness. The second act can feel paint by numbers with how it progresses and with its character interactions. A lot of said characters are boring, flat, or even unnecessary. Did Nemo need a squirrel friend, or a group of goblins who do dances, choreographed by Jeffrey Daniel of Bad fame? This gets to the heart of the problem. Too many cooks. So many talented creators came and went on this project. None of it was stable. There was a real disconnect from the suits to the creators, made worse by the language barrier and the different approaches to animation evident in its multiple directors leaving, and the 11-year nightmarish production. What we got in the end does feel like a Disney-style product, down to the songs by the Sherman Brothers. Did we even need songs in this film? The animators didn't get that opportunity to shine as they did in the pilots. In the behind the scenes, the American director gave an example of how the production worked. He would read the script and act out the motions for the Japanese animators while drawing his own board. It didn't sound like much of a collaboration. Lots of the darker undertones were cleaned away, bar a few scenes. Nevertheless, you do get to see classic actor Mickey Rourke approach his favorite role, the racist caricature.
Oh no! Oh no!
Despite starting rocky, Nemo did much better on home release, and TMS has uploaded the whole movie free on YouTube for your enjoyment. I'm not sponsored, I swear. So if you're in the right mood, give it a go. The shorts are also available, so I'll link those at the bottom. There's supposed to be a third pilot, but I couldn't find it, so if you do find it, can you just link me up? In the end, despite the what-ifs, a Ghibli Nemo wouldn't have lived up to the hype. With the amount of compromises the actual team made, there's no way Miyazaki would have dealt with that. Knowing his method of creating films, doing it as he goes while writing it later, it would have drove the Americans crazy. This is even evident in their early creative differences on the story. Leaving to make Nausicaä was the better decision in the long run, as Ghibli were one of the first anime production companies to break through in America, after all. But hey, we'll always have the pilot, and that's something worth remembering. Thanks for watching, everyone. It's been a wild week. My social blade is stabbing me in the neck. It's telling me, keep making videos, boys. You're on the roll, you're on a roll. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll make another video real quick and see what happens. The next video I'm hoping to do is on Goro Miyazaki. It might be the last Ghibli-related product I do for a bit while I move on to other topics. Recommend me topics in the below, because you never know, I might actually do it. Maybe I won't, who knows, but I'll definitely read it. Have a nice day, I love you all. Keep safe.